Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.
Hello, welcome to Unspoken, episode 14. We've taken another small break, just getting more topics, getting more ideas, and getting more refreshed for the next few episodes. For those that were wondering about vaccinations, we will be talking about vaccinations. We will have that in sometime in the future, hopefully not too distant future. But today, lots happening going on. There is election happening in New Zealand at the moment. There's elections coming up in the United States. There is once again Brexit happening, the final Brexit happening in January. So lots to talk about over the next season, the next few months, and we look forward to chatting with you. So stick around, tune in, subscribe, let your friends know, and thank you for joining in this one podcast or video chat, whichever way you've chosen to tune in. John, today we're chatting about good leaders versus great leaders. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so definitely chosen not to go good versus bad, as I think it's more of a open and shut case in terms of discussion. But the question is, what makes a leader that is good cross over into a category of the leader that is great? So we'll definitely maybe go across some of the leaders in the Bible, as well as obviously well-known leaders across history. And yeah, we hopefully come to an understanding of what is the X factor, or what is the few factors that make that transition.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people often consider a leader once they've done something wrong, or they known more for something negative, to just be a bad leader. But that is not really what we're talking about. We're talking about really the essence of leadership, and how they've led either their nation, their country, or struggle, a certain thing. How they've done it really was what we're going to be considering. For instance, let's throw right into the deep end there. Hitler. We put Hitler out there, and people are like, "Oh, Hitler, horrible." Which it's the whole genocide and thing. I mean, we can't begin to describe how bad it was and how wrong it was. But as far as a leader, you'd have to put him in as a good leader, because he managed to lead a lot of people down a really dark road.
Certainly. I love the spot that you're starting at. Adolf Hitler was a good leader. He managed to get people on board. He got the vote initially to get into his party. He spoke well. He knew what to say. He knew how to pitch his ideas and stuff like that in a certain time. We agree that the outcome was terrible. So we're not fighting over that. But yes, I think definitely falls under the category of good leader. And then the great part, I think he misses, and because of the outcome, right? This is maybe one of the lines that we can draw here. Adolf Hitler was a great leader. No, he was a good leader because his actions didn't lead people to the positive outcome or best outcome. Now, maybe if you're along those lines, then you could say, no, he was great. Maybe if you disagree with us that everything that he did was terrible, then maybe he's a great leader. But in my opinion, because of the actions, because of how he used his good leadership, he won't ever make it into the books of being a great leader.
Yes, that's very well put, very well explained. And I think I would like to think. Hopefully, there's only if there's anybody, it would be only a few people that agree that he did something well, because us with the rest of the world definitely believe that he did wrong. All right, let's carry on. Let's put one a South African one. Nelson Mandela, or there's many, he's known by many other names. Tata, Madiba. Um, would you say he
Mm.
was a great leader or a good leader?
Yeah, so I mean, you could also viewers to pause the video here and you decide for themselves before we can give the answer. But this particular one, in my opinion, is not that hard. So maybe we can do that later on. But no, in my opinion, Nelson Mandela was a great leader. Um, he chose his good leadership. He spoke well, equal to, part of the criteria that we've been listening for Adolf Hitler. He was able to unite the country. He was able to bring people around him that like had his vision, that wanted to like was on board with what he was doing. And in Nelson Mandela's case, his attitude, I think, makes him a great leader. Um, I didn't meet him. I've never met him when he was alive, but I mean his legacy surely counts for itself. He was in very bad situation, and he managed to out of that think well and think positively, and really be for a good purpose rather than a negative purpose. Would you say that he's a great leader as well, and what criteria?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna slow it down slightly because I want to ask some questions, which
Okay.
well, so I don't know if you've watched his that movie about his life, Long Walk to Freedom, about the movie or read his
Mm,
book. It pretty much shows his struggle and shows where he came from and to where he ended up. And I 100% agree that he ended up being a great leader.
mm,
However, there were times in the beginning, and I know some people today still consider him as a terrorist because he did early on in the struggle for liberation and freeing these people. He did
mm,
do questionable things. He did bomb. Well, he was involved in bombings. He was involved in, well, I think pretty much bombings. He plotted bombings. Um,
mm,
so at that time, I would say he was a good leader, and then
mm,
he matured into becoming a great leader. Um, I would like to also refer quickly, if we go biblical, to King David, who, when you're reading the story about
mm.
King David, he did lots of great things and he did lots of good things, and um, he yeah, really he became a great leader, but he also did questionable things. He also did wrong in the eyes of God. Um, so does that demote him to good leader, or is it a great leader that is faltered, or is he only a good? I
Mm.
mean, where where would he fall in? And then we can basically come back to Nelson Mandela.
Okay. Very. I like it. I like it. Yeah. So there is a question then: how much negative or bad things in society, like according to society, do you need to do to be demoted into the two categories, or even worse, into a bad leader?
Hmm.
Interesting. So I, as history books would put it, I would say that King David, and David was a great leader. Um, he definitely made some bad choices in the leadership, and it wasn't just one moment or something like that. It was scattered every now and then.
Hmm.
Um, wow. I don't know. I would say that my image of him is at least great. Uh, Definitely in the moments, he would have been like, "Well, that's even bad. That's even worse." But so if it's like, I don't know if you have to count up like a tally board on either side, the positive, negatives, and then you come up with a one extra positive or five extra positives, and that makes him that doesn't seem quite right. It doesn't seem, like you can just say that's how you can determine if it's a great leader.
I think,
What are your thoughts? Think.
yes, I think we would have to stick to what you said, something you said a little earlier, where you were saying the outcome of what they were leading towards determines the greatness of the leader. So if you leading, Mandela, Nelson Mandela, he led towards freedom of millions of people that were suppressed. He came out of prison not being hateful, he just being united, absolutely full of love and, I mean, utmost respect. No, I mean, the things where he could have come out with, he could have come out and been a good leader and led his people out and been, but he came out and he was a great leader. So regardless of how he got there, yes, we don't condone things they've done or what people do necessarily, and they're bad choices. But in the end of the day, leader or not, they are human, and humans make faults and falter and make mistakes. Just because they're leaders doesn't make them infallible to to things doing things wrong. So I think we'd have to
but do great leaders fall prey to the human flesh? Do great leaders, go off the rails? Possibly a great leader has to, yes, he has issues, but you're able to surround yourself with people that can help you stick on course, or surround yourself, or when you're thinking that you might slip up, you can adjust your lining. Maybe great leaders are a step above, and I mean, come on, we're not saying they're good. Yes, they're good, but what happens? Let me ask you this: what happens if Adolf Hitler decided halfway through his campaign to change, or what happens if he won and then we're writing history books differently? And then it's like, oh yeah, well obviously he was a great leader because he's now in power or something. We're what are we saying is, give me a great perspective. What makes a person great then?
No, I don't think you can necessarily fault somebody on doing things wrong. Well, let's put it this way. I mean, nowadays, for instance, let's make it a bit more modern. Presidents or leaders are normally only leaders. I mean, the presidencies, you can only run 2 terms, so 8 years, possibly 10 years. And that's it. Then you're really out of the limelight. Yeah. So, all you have to do is keep your nose clean for 10 years. And then you become a great leader. Where in the past, leaders have been leaders for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. King David must have been a leader for 60, 80, 100 years. I don't know. I haven't got the stats on me. Mandela was in the limelight. If we now forget, we just take the time from when he was released from prison as his term, then he was past great. He was exceptional. He didn't do anything wrong. So you have to see how long is somebody being judged for their leadership. So if you look at a president nowadays, let's go Tony Blair. Let's say Tony Blair. He was the Prime Minister of England for about 20 years ago.
Prime Minister, not President.
Prime Minister about 15 years ago. And obviously, depending which way you voted at that time. But from when I was younger, I didn't really know much about politics at the time. But from what I know, he did some good things. And he spoke well. Please don't anybody comment or shoot me for saying that. I'm just, I don't really know. I don't know his policies. I don't know. But from what I saw, he was a good leader. So, but he was only there for a certain amount of time, and now he's out of the picture. Whereas other leaders are there a lot longer. Would you agree?
So just I do agree, but what it feels like then is that you're cutting off, like you have to be at the top of your game to be a great leader. Like what it sounds like is that, you know, Joe Soap on a corner playing on a maybe on a cricket team or on a football team or something like that, he can't be a great leader because he's only going to be there for a year in his captaincy or something.
Mhm.
So so I understand that the time frame is important, but we mentioning like big historic names,
Mhm.
but a great leader can also be a leader that is running a kitchen for soups, on or something
Yeah.
like that, or is that not fair?
No, no, for sure. I mean,
Yeah. So then, yeah,
no, I mean, a leader is leading anything, and if you leading
you
your
go.
team, leading your football team, leading your uh, team of teachers, leading a team in the hospital. Um,
Mm,
yes, we are currently referring to larger leaders, but we're mentioning actually saying leaders in general. So long leaders in general are leading people honestly and positively and towards a good outcome,
yeah,
then they
yeah.
will be great leaders. Yeah.
So your question then is that you're referring to the time frame, right, of the leadership, and is the question is time frame important, or is the question of keeping your nose clean for the whole time, or you're just pointing out the fact that they had a longer time to mess up? Is that the point actually of the
Yes.
length part?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying people who are in the limelight for 20 years of leadership,
Mm,
they they have more. I mean, statistic wise, there's just more time to mess up. Because
yeah.
we're all human. Where somebody is of a fraction of that. And I
Mm.
think that's what needs to be considered. But let's name some more leaders. Who can you think of? Let's some team
Well,
captains.
yeah, interesting right now. Just to yeah, so we have Jacinda Ardern is currently on the ballot on the books for a Nobel Peace Prize as part of the COVID situation, as well as I believe President Trump is maybe on there, as well as the Irish president, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I would like to think. Do you? I don't know if you know too much about the New Zealand politics and stuff. But do you think that people will be talking about Nobel Peace Prize winners in the future as great leaders, or what do they have to do in the modern time in order to be a great leader? I think Jacinda Ardern is a really good communicator, and she does lead well, and she has united in New Zealand over the past 8 months. But I'm not sure she's a good leader. But I'm not sure does that if she will be known as a great leader or not. And so currently in this moment, I'm wondering what needs to happen. If she wins the Nobel Peace Prize, does that make her a great leader? you know?
Yeah, that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
It's tricky because one, surely a Nobel Peace. I mean, surely receiving that, you should actually be restoring peace to a country or negotiating peace between two countries or something like that. I mean, it's got to do with something like that. I know, if I'm not mistaken, Nelson Mandela received it, obviously, and I mean that if you look at what he achieved and what he actually accomplished, um,
Mm.
then I think that's well deserving of it. Whether Jacinda or Trump, well, is deserving of it. Let's look at why Trump. Let's say I believe they're saying Trump is nominated for uh, is it for Israel? Is for this new thing that negotiating peace between Israel, Iran, and somewhere else. So
Yes. Yeah. So he recently, as well as like changing is like the capital of Jerusalem in Israel, is currently helped sign that peace treaty in amongst the area that many other people have tried before. So yeah, certainly I believe that is what he is nominated for in that particular case.
Yeah, so something like that.
Okay.
Okay, let's take away the fact that people don't like him, or if you do like him, or just take away the person. Let's not look at the actual person, but let's look at the deed and the outcome again. That's why we look at the outcome of what they've achieved, and I mean that's incredible. That's some serious peace. And as far
Yes.
as peace prize, that he should get a prize for negotiating peace, and I mean that's what it is. Um, Regardless of what he is, or we're not talking about the person. Let's say
Mm.
Noddy, the character, he could negotiate that peace, then Noddy would get it, or whoever, you know. Whoever people like nowadays. Who do people like? Um, I'm just saying, I don't think Jacinda. I don't think what she's done is really noteworthy. She might be a good leader, but she can get a pat on the back or a plaque on the wall. I don't think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
don't think that. But I mean, let's talk about other leaders. Who can you think of who you reckon was possibly pictured as a bad leader or or somebody that you think should be great or could be great or could have been great or
Um, yeah. Strangely enough, just villains in some of the movies comes up to my mind in that moment.
okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, the villains seem to be always pushed down as the, not good leaders, or not so like not just because they're villains that makes
Mm.
them, that means that the hero is actually the best leader.
Yes.
Um, in Wreck-It Ralph, he sits around in a whole bunch of, I'm just that character, I'm just that person, and now all of a sudden I'm put in a box of negative. And so, just as you say that, I'm thinking that you paint a historically, or in movies, I mean, you paint a person as negative, and therefore you can never be a great leader. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking like uh, maybe negative and war people who led negatively else besides Adolf. And nothing unfortunately comes to mind. But I was wondering, is just because they didn't win or because their motives are um, against what society says is right, and then that's it. Then immediately they can't become great. And I
Mm.
guess that's what we said with almost what we said with Adolf Hitler. Although I think it is a bit different to some some other villains in the world. But I think um, like leadership depends also on people, like how people are thinking, and the goal, as you did.
Mm.
And so I just, as we discussing sports leaders, I think our South African cricket leaders, when I grew up, Hansi, and I don't know his last name. Do you know Hansi's last name? And Herschel
Han-
Gibbs,
Hansi Cornier.
Hansi Cronje. So when I was growing up, Hansi Cronje was like, wow, he's the South African cricket lead. And I mean, he could do nothing wrong until he did. And I thought it was just absolutely amazing, leading South African cricket.
Mm.
And then unfortunately, he was involved in a scandal, and his name will always be synonymous with, I think, the scandal more than his leadership. Um, and it was just, I don't know if it was one mistake or if it was a range of mistakes over a period of time. Um, but I don't know if we're taking the mantle of him being a great South African captain off just because he made that mistake.
Mm.
And maybe, does it deserve? Because of what he did, does that deserve to be taken away from him?
Yeah, that's quite a tough. Well, yeah, strikes a sore spot in my heart there because as a child, I looked up to him, and I think a lot of us did. really, I mean, he was, when I learned about cricket and knew about cricket, this was Hunter Cronje, and he was just a great player, great batsman. Just he was a really good leader, really, really good captain. And unfortunately, yes, so when the whole match fixing things came out, and it was just again just bad decisions, bad choices, bad decisions that ended up tarnishing a good name, good leader. Um,
Mm.
so I would say that he was a great leader from being a child. From what I saw as a child, he was a great leader. And then when he made those mistakes, he lost his title of being a great leader and fell into the good leader category because he was a good leader um, for the cricket team. He was a good cricketer and he led his team to lots of the Proteas to lots of wins. But if that didn't happen, if he didn't make those bad decisions, then I think he would have stuck being a great leader. Um, but I mean, there's lots of other leaders. We have Gandhi, who was a
Mm.
massive, massive leader in India. We have Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm.
That's a big one. He was mentioned recently. It was his Martin Luther King Day recently. Um,
Mm.
that's actually been top of your list, John, being a, a Baptist minister, an activist.
The Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
Yeah. So he did a great. I mean, if you look at his track record, um, he promoted and fought very valiantly.
Mm,
Yes, he was also part of a Christian church and stuff.
mm,
But the fact that the Christian side was there, I'm not sure. I think it fueled him, but it doesn't necessarily change in this particular topic whether he was good or great.
yeah.
But I definitely do think he got support and it got the strength to be able to fight those battles because
Mm,
of his religious choices.
mm,
Um, I mean, it was an extreme battle. I wasn't there again, but you can read it, and you see the what he fought for and how he led.
mm,
I mean, his speeches. I'm sure you can listen to like 30 seconds of a speech and know that it's him, or
yes.
even less.
Mm,
In fact, you might not even know him and be able to guess, like, oh, it was that guy that, you
mm,
know. And it's because not because his voice is just so recognized, but also because of what he was saying and what he was promoting. So his goal and the way he got there definitely, I think, falls into the great category. It also helps that of what he was doing actually saw fruition. Um,
yeah.
if it didn't happen, I don't know if it might say, well, obviously he only reached good status because didn't quite get his goal. I wonder if that's a criteria.
Mm,
But yes, Gandhi definitely known very well for his goals and aspirations and what he did for the world.
mm,
Um, yeah, um, he's also a Nobel Peace Prize winner. I not
yes.
assume, but I believe
Yes.
is
Yes.
is correct.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking back now, I mean, you have Abraham Lincoln, who was
Mhm.
is known to be one of the best presidents of the United States ever.
Mhm.
He basically, you look at Trump now, for instance, he's president at the moment during the time of crisis of pandemic and just things, just really big struggle. And there's presidents across. Was it JFK during the world wars? The presidents that were, in big pinnacle moments in history. But if you look at Abraham
Mhm.
Lincoln, um, I mean, he was during the birth of modern day America. The
Mhm.
struggles there, and having to be the president of the country, going through such an iconic revolution of changing of war, of civil war. I mean, that's just to come out and
Mhm.
do the things he said and lead for such a positive change back then is really, really good. Here's a question.
So I think if we want to go, yeah, you go.
Yeah. Well, so you can come back to Abraham Lincoln. I just have Winston Churchill,
Mm.
another prime minister that people either don't like, or um, he had to make lots of difficult decisions. I don't know if you ever watched that. Did you watch that movie about him? Um, Basically, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I did watch it, but can't say that I remember it very well. It's not kind of my like
yeah.
top of my mind.
Basically, he just had to make a lot of tough decisions. He had to. It was also during the war, and he had to make decisions to lose people uh, in order to save more people. So he made
Mm.
really difficult decisions that nobody wanted to make, and he's like, well, okay, well, he'll do it. Um,
Mm.
and unfortunately, it was war, and a lot of people did die. Um, but
Mm.
he made a decision that would save more. So, I would, in that type of thing, you'd have to again look at the proof of the pudding, and the evidence was that he made the right decisions when it was needed, even though it was unpopular necessarily or whatever he was deciding. But he made the best decisions for the people, and he saved more lives because of it. Um, I don't know if I would make him a great leader. That's quite difficult. Um, Judging by some things, I might just
Tell me,
lean
tell me,
on.
tell me why it's just. Yeah, tell me why it's a struggle. Tell me why, like what happens if he saved more lives? What happens if what
Well,
happens if he didn't save lives? Does that, why is it so, why is it hard?
well, it wasn't. It was this one move, this one decision, this one part of his leadership that saved a lot of lives.
Mm.
So it was one element of his leadership that was really good. Um, but
Mm.
from what I've seen and what I've read and I've heard about, he wasn't always making good decisions. It wasn't always
Mm.
the right things. I'm open to correction. I'm not a historian. I haven't studied him. I don't know what it is. Um, I just know that he was relatively unpopular with a lot of things he did say and do. But in the end, because of his decisions, that's what he's known for, and he's loved because of that. So possibly he
Mm.
takes a step into the great leadership.
Mm. So I ask you then, what is some criteria that we are forming over this discussion for in our minds? Maybe not, maybe the listeners' minds as well, of what we're deciding on our particular opinion, what makes a leader cross over from just being a good leader then to being a great leader.
I think the key thing is to see where the person is taking the team or the country or whatever the person is leading, or whoever they're leading, whatever they're in charge of, where are they taking you? Where are they taking the rest of you? Um, where's the ship's captain really steering you? Regardless of who the captain is, regardless of um, anything of who the person is, it doesn't matter. They could be it could be a ghost, for instance. It doesn't matter who the person is. It's what are they doing that is better or great or good for in their place of leadership. Um, if your team leader at your college or your dorm room or in your ultimate frisbee team is leading you to great outcomes, to success, to positive attitudes, to um, a better place, whatever the situation, then they are a great leader, regardless of who the person is. Let's put an example out as okay, a leader of a kitchen. I believe it is. It's the head chef. Would that be the head chef?
Yes, at least, yeah, chef,
Let's
main chef,
say
yeah.
they're leading the team and they're doing fantastic results. They are delivering great food. The restaurant is happy, the managers are happy, the customers are all happy, the food is fantastic. But let's say this person, let's for argument's sake that he smokes weed to keep him calm, and he's he drinks a bit, and he parties at night
Mm.
after work. He parties till early hours of the morning, and um, he's messy at home, and he's scruffy or something like that. Let's just say that I'm not saying I'm just listing a bunch of things that people might consider bad traits for a person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't influence his leadership, or that leadership, his leadership in the kitchen is still superb. Then you can't judge the person, because you're not judging the person, you're judging the leadership, you're judging the reason, the outcome of the leadership. So yes, okay, you might not like the person, you might not go hang out with him, or you might think, okay, he's a bit scruffy, I wouldn't, become best friends with him. But he's a great leader, and for his role, he's doing a great job. So for that reason, then he has to be a great leader and stay in leadership until that changes. Yes, no, maybe.
Sure. No, that doesn't sit well with me. Doesn't sit well with me. Um, I like the idea, but my problem is that surely leadership starts with yourself. So if in your scenario, I think in the history books, yes, you could probably say that chef was a good leader. So afterwards, because I don't know about all the extra stuff that he struggled to be the leader. So if I only ever saw him, if I only ever saw him in the kitchen, or the history books write only about his kitchen leadership, then yes, I would say that he would be a great leader.
Mm.
But in the same way, what happens if he is shouting at his kitchen rather than it being a nice, pleasant place? If he's able to do what you just said, like everybody's like receiving good food, and people say, no, what, he's just so good at making creative ideas, but he's shouting, and then what? Then is he still good or bad? So I think I understand what you're saying in terms of us judging on the leadership, but my criteria is that you have to lead yourself right first. To be a great leader, you have to. I know you make faults. I agree, but if the reason why that chef is a good leader in the kitchen is because he's smoking, because he's taking out all these frustrations on in the evening, then I would suggest that he needs to work on that before you can become in the great leadership. He needs to somehow get counseling, or to be able to lead well. And I understand it's a tough, work environment, chefs and all that stuff. So I'm not hitting people who choose that, but I do think that leadership starts before you in your location. Presidents or Gandhi or whatever, they didn't start just by when they get nominated or just in their role. They don't go take a break from leadership and then come back like, yeah, okay, I'm back here. People are watching, people are seeing your leadership, your example 24/7. And so I don't think we can we can give leaders a break, unfortunately, and say I think we would have to take it all.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because basically what I'm hearing, if I read a bit between the lines, it's almost like in the history books, somebody could be a great leader, where at the time, possibly if you knew them, you might only class them as a good leader, because in history books, or on paper, we only really see what's on paper, or see what we're being told, um, and you're seeing the results of their leadership more than the leader and their leadership. But now, in the modern day, we're judging people that we see in the media, and we read in the news, and we know, we hear, and we classing them slightly different, because we adding things we know. Whereas, for instance, Alexander the Great, I don't know anything. Apparently he was great, but that's as well, you know what I mean? So I'll take the word for it because I don't know much other than that. So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think it's really smart to add great to his name. I think I might have to change my name to Joshua the Great, and then I'll be known as a great leader forever. Um, but but yes, I mean it's an interesting. I like it. I think it is difficult. It's difficult. I hear what you're saying that you need to consider this person, and in order to be a great leader, you need to be a good person with great leadership. But if you a bad person
Mm.
with great leadership, then you're just a good leader. But yes,
Yeah, I think kind of half cancels each other out, right?
I think so. I think so. Um, but yeah, I think in the end of the day, we need to look at everything with open eyes. Um, Try find out all information about people that we wanted to put in leadership, whether it's your leader of your local walking team or dog walking group, um, whether it's the leader of your council or your province, whatever area you're in, whichever type of elections you got, or in New Zealand at the moment, leader of the country. I think it is important to do your own research, your own homework, to find out if this person you're planning to put in leadership uh, is basically striving towards an outcome that you think is worthy of being great. Um, if they are going for something that you don't agree with, then maybe you should question if you should vote them for them or not. Um, but yes, in the end of the day, as you say, the person also is important. So regardless, maybe uh, what the person's standing for, what the person's wanting to achieve, can be cancelled out if they're not a nice person. Um, it's I mean, let's say for instance, Trump is the elections are coming up, and a lot of people say, well, he's basically got ideas that I like, but he's a bit of a dodgy person, so I'm not going to vote for him. And other people are saying, well, you know, yes, he's dodgy, but the things he's going for, the things he's wanting, I want. So I'll vote for the person who's going to give that to me. Um, so it's difficult. It's a difficult choice. I think it definitely gives lots of thought. And for those who pray, definitely pray about it. You should pray for leaders. The Bible says pray for leaders, regardless if you like. It doesn't say there if you like the leaders, pray for them. I think it's especially I think especially if you don't like them, pray for them. um, but it is so. Pray for leaders, vote for leaders, get the right people in leadership, regardless if it's your local bridge club or the leader of your country.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can change a lot having the right people in the right place, whether it's a small group of leading or whether it's propel your group or your country in the best. Think about what you want in a leader and what you willing to back as you don't want to vote for, or you don't want to put a person that's just going to be good. You want them to be striving.
Thank you, John. That was a good chat. I enjoyed that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for listening. We will see you on the flip side.
Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.